Let's make a Japanese-inspired block in The Sims 4. Be sure to watch the full video and let me know which apartment you'd like to live in at the end. I started out by making our road, which I just used like this sort of darker pavement and then added that all around the outside. I also wanted to add obviously loads of lampposts, another walkway on the other side, and then I also added this little traffic light in as well, as I thought that'd be really good, and of course I also added a parked car. Moving on to our first building, I decided that I was going to do a sort of 3-leveled flat for this one. I wanted to go with a kind of a bit more of a rustic kind of style. I went with sort of this paneling on the outside and then some bricks on the bottom. I also wanted there to be garage doors right at the bottom as well, sort of like it used to be an old business maybe, but now it's a house. I added these stairs that lead us up to the first floor, which is where you would enter. I wanted to add some plants as well and just make it feel a little bit nicer too. This flat also comes with a balcony. Moving on to our second apartment block, I wanted this one to be a very classic, sort of more of those sort of small, tiny apartment blocks that you actually find in Japan. This one, of course, is just one apartment though, rather than split off into 3, and it goes across all 3 of the floors. I wanted this one to also have quite a lot of balconies, so we added 2 balconies and has the little walkway at the front. For our third building, I wanted to go with a bit more of an industrial and rustic style, so I made sure to do exposed brick across the outside. This one's going to be 2 levels that can be accessed through the front of the building, or we also have this little balcony here which accesses a private garden area at the front. I wanted to go with a bit more of a darker tone for this one, as we did do 2 quite light houses in the other one. We also have some fans, obviously some bins out front, and then I also added another bike and some plants around the side. I did decorate the inside of this one's little private garden, and for this I just added like a lot of different plants. I thought that this would make it feel really cute and cozy if you were to use this garden. We've done a lot of attached apartment buildings, so let's move on to something a little bit different and do a detached one this time. I'm going to go with a bit more of a cutesy kind of house. I did use Japanese house references for all of these just so that I had a bit of an idea of what they should look like. For this one, again, I wanted to go really overboard on the plants, so we added loads of potted plants out the front. I also added a bunch of plants and ivy coming off of the roof right at the front of the house as well. This one, again, is going to be quite a small house, but obviously we do have the 2 levels, downstairs being a little bit bigger. I also added some vending machines out the side of this one as well, as I thought that would look the best and give it that kind of Japanese vibe. I'm going to do another 2 buildings, so this one we're going to go with another quite skinny and tall one. I decided for this one as well we're actually going to do a shared community space in the bottom, so this is actually a 2-floor flat, and then right at the bottom we have a community space that can be accessed by anyone who lives in this block. I added loads of plants to the 2 little balconies that we had, and then some cluttered items on the top of the building as well. And finally, for our last building, I decided I was going to go with this kind of dojo-esque style building. I really like this one. I think it looks super cute and it really gives that Japanese vibe, and I think it's good that this is right at the front of the building. I wanted to add a lot of windows to this one all across this corner, as the other side of the building doesn't have much access to light, so I wanted there to be lots of light through windows at the front. I went with these panelled windows at the top, which I think looks super cute. I'm going to do the top as a studio flat, as it is just a big square, and then at the bottom we have a community and shared space, which I decided was going to be either a restaurant or some kind of cafe. I of course also added this outdoor seating, which I think looks really good as well, and had to add loads of little plants and things to make it extra decorative. With that, our shell is actually complete now, so we can move on to the inside of all of these different apartment blocks. I feel like this is going to take a while, but let's crack on with that part of it. Now that the shell is complete, we can move on to our insides, and I'm going to do the shared spaces first. So on the left we've got a library, and on the right here we have a restaurant. I started off with this one, which is going to be a restaurant. I wanted it to still have that dojo vibe, so we made sure to keep with that. I started out by making the little bathroom that we have out the back. Moving on to the inside of the restaurant, I wanted there to be a lot of warm vibes, so we made sure to add warm lighting. I also added this paneling, which makes it feel much more Japanese orientated. We have a 4-person table, which is directly opposite where we actually cook all the food. This also has access to the outside of the restaurant as well, where we have outdoor seating, which I think is perfect for if you want to eat outside. I wanted to add a little bit more decoration in terms of plants on the far wall, and then we also have a 2-person table as well, so that we have a bit more seating. And I think that this is perfect for just a few people to be able to gather together to enjoy food. Moving on to our second shared space, I wanted this to be a cute little sort of library area. I wanted to include loads of books and some seating, as I thought that this would be quite nice as a shared space for all of the residents living in the block. I made sure to add loads of warm lighting, and again I wanted to use this sort of wooden panelling all across the side, as this did give that sort of Japanese feel, but it also made it feel quite modern, which I think was good as well for a library. I added some really comfortable seating areas, like this comfy little round sofa here. I also added a rocking chair so that we had even more comfy areas to be able to read. Of course, I also added more bookshelves, so we added this little nook in the back as well that also has additional bookshelves and has a lot more privacy. I wanted to add little beanbag chairs to here as well, just for extra comfort. We've now finished our 2 shared spaces, so we can move on to our first actual apartment block. And we're going to start with this big 3-floor apartment that is right on the corner. We've done our 2 communal spaces already, but this one's going to be a house. So we're starting off with our bathroom. I really like the design of this one as it looks super elegant. I tried to keep to those darker grey colours so that it felt a bit more clean. As we have 3 floors to this, we don't have a massive amount of space in each floor. I decided I was going to do a bedroom on the ground floor as well. This one obviously has these garage doors, which I decided to cover with curtains. We also have these hanging up sections for all of our clothes right next to this double bed here. On the other side of the room, I decided this is where we could have a little section to keep some knickknacks and a desk, which makes it a bit more of a usable space. I decided for the main bulk of the rooms, we're going to go with this sleek sort of modern wooden design. I think this makes it feel a lot cleaner. I want this to be just for this apartment though. I'm going to change it up for the other ones. I added in a spiral staircase that leads all the way round through each of the floors, and then we can get to work on the floor that we actually enter on. We've got a cute little entrance hallway that has a few little bits, including some shoes and obviously an area to put up your coat. We then move over to this more open space, which I decided was going to be a kitchen all across this main wall here. I really like how this came out, even though it is a little bit smaller, but I think it actually looks super cute, and the more clean design really works well here. Over on the other side of the room, we have our seating area where we're going to be eating, and I did a low-down table for this just so that it fit in with that Japanese style. We can then move on to our upstairs, which is our top floor, and this is going to have a living area and a bedroom. Obviously, this is a bit of an open plan sort of living area, but I did want it to feel quite cozy. We put a double sofa in there, and then we've got a single armchair off to the side as well. And we've got our TV on the wall too. We then have our last bedroom, which is just our second bedroom, and this one's just a single bed, really cute, sort of basic design. I did want to ensure I added in a wardrobe though, just for usability. For this apartment, we definitely went with something a lot more clean and uniform, but I think for the next one, we should try to go a little bit more rustic. We only have 3 floors to this apartment, and they are very tiny, so this is definitely going to be a bit more of a small living situation. But we started off with our kitchen downstairs at the entranceway, where we have 2 counters, a tiny fridge, and an oven that sits on top. On the opposite end of that, we have the dining table, which is just a small 2-person dining table and chairs. I also added some cute little decorations to the wall, which make it feel a little bit more rustic. Downstairs as well, we also have our bathroom, which was a little bit too small to include a sink, but at least it's got the kitchen right next to it, so you can use the sink there. But we've got a little shower and a toilet, as well as a mirror. Now that we've done our ground floor, we can move up to our first floor, where this is going to be our living space. I decided to go with a lot of these green and yellow tones, as I think that they give it the most vibrancy, and it definitely gives it that more rustic look. I also went with a beanbag chair, and we added some decorations to the walls, such as these little shelves that have different cluttered items on. I also added a ladder which takes us up to the upstairs bedroom. I wanted to add a lot of clutter to this room just to make it feel really lived in, but also give it that cozy vibe. We then move upstairs to our final room, which is our bedroom. I wanted this to be a double bedroom, as this could be a house that fits 2 people in it. We added this cute little wardrobe into the side as well, and then of course picked our double bed. Sticking with the rustic vibe, I tried to stick with something that has metal framework to it. I then wanted to add even more clutter in with some shelving and a mirror. We've done the 3-floor apartment, so let's mix it up and completely go with something a lot smaller, and let's actually do our studio apartment that's round the corner. This one's going to be a bit more difficult as it is such a small space to deal with. This is actually the smallest apartment that we have in this entire block, as it is only a studio flat. I started off by making a little section which I was going to make the bathroom, and then the rest of it is all going to be open space. We started off with our kitchen area, which I wanted to do as sort of a little galley kitchen. As this is such a small space, I wanted it to feel very cluttered, as this would add to the fact that it's very lived in. I wanted there to be loads of items in the kitchen that you'd commonly find, such as pots, pans, plates, and of course little jars and stuff for spices. I wanted to make sure that I filled each of the shelves to make sure that it felt like it was very used as the space goes. I also added a little sink onto the other side as well as our oven. This is obviously a studio, as we don't have a massive amount of space, so of course we've got to add in our double bed. I did it in this spot here, as there was this little nook that we could easily fit the double bed in, and as it's only one square to the left of it, we can still get into the bed easily. I wanted to add some storage as well directly above the bed, as we haven't got a lot of room in this studio apartment, so we need that extra storage. I added clutter as well, using shoes and some clothes on the floor. Opposite from our bed and our kitchen, we obviously have our living and dining area. We just have a simple 2-chair table. I added a little TV in as well that you can see from the dining table as well as the bed, and then I also added in this little set of drawers. We can then move over to the section next to the front door where we've just got some little bits of storage, some bags, a little bit of plants, and then I also wanted to add in this mirror, and then of course we also added in the door to the bathroom. We can then move over to our bathroom where I did a whole separate shower section so that you could actually sit in the shower in order to wash. This is very common in Japan. I then of course just added a simple sink and a toilet next to it as well. I wanted to incorporate these light blues and some slight wooden tones as I felt this looked the most cozy. Now that we've finished one of the smallest houses / apartments in this lot, we can move on to one of our bigger ones. This one's going to be 2 floors and it has a really gorgeous front garden with loads of patio and loads of plants. This house is 2 floors, so we're going to start on our ground floor for this one. I wanted it to have a bit more of a rustic style to it, as that's what the outside kind of looked like when I made it. We started off with the living room, and I raised it all up so that we had a genkan right at the front of the entrance where people could store their shoes. I then did a little 2-person sofa, and I added this cabinet as well. On the other side of our living room, I also added some bits to the walls, such as this clock and coat hanger. I then added a very large TV as well. I kept it rustic with a fan on the floor, as well as a slightly raggedy looking rug. I then moved over to our next room, which is going to be our kitchen and dining area. I started off with our kitchen, which we did in a little L shape, and I made sure to add lots of clutter to this area as well. We also have some shelving which I could add additional clutter to as well. I wanted to fill the walls with loads of little bits too, so that it felt really used. Additionally, I wanted to add a microwave so that we had more ways of cooking, and I also wanted to add a rug so that it felt a bit more homey. We then moved over to the dining room area where I wanted to do a mix of chairs which gave it that more rustic look again, and I wanted to add some little plants as well directly behind it. I also have this cute little window here which I added some curtains to and a little shelf with extra items on top. As this is one of the bigger buildings on this big community lot that we've built, I wanted it to be a 3-bedroom, so we did add an additional bedroom out this back section next to the dining room. I went with a slightly more simplistic design for this, but I wanted to bring out some colours in it with a large red rug, and then we kept a single bed. And what's nice about this room is that it also has a door that leads out to its own little private garden out the front. We then moved upstairs where we had a bit of a weird shape to deal with here. It was a bit difficult to fit in the 2 rooms as well as a bathroom, but I managed to sort of work with it as well as giving us a nice little hallway. So now we can move on to our little upstairs room, which I wanted to be a baby room. For this I used accent tones of pinks and greens. I felt like this was the most unique kind of colour scheme that I could do for this baby room, and I think it has everything in it that's perfect for infants. Moving on, we then have the master bedroom. I wanted this one to be still a little bit rustic, but basically filled with a bunch of plants. I wanted a big plush double bed here, as well as obviously the little dresser off to the side. Opposite the bed we then have a comfy sofa as well as a monstera plant, which I absolutely love. We've also got some shelving directly above this which gives us extra item space, and I also wanted to include a very tiny desk that the person could work from. I then moved on to our hallway, which I didn't want to leave blank, so I made sure to add a little fish tank, which I think gives it a bit more personality, and we also have a bookshelf and a little lamp as well. This hallway initially felt quite dark as we only have one little window off to the side and of course the door, so I wanted to incorporate extra lighting with that lamp and fish tank which emit their own light. Then finally we have our bathroom, which I think is the most modern room in the entire house. I still tried to keep it a little bit rustic though, as we do have a walk-in shower that includes a little stool as well that you can sit on while you're in the shower. This is quite common in Japanese homes. I really like all of the comfy tones that we used in this property, but we can now move on to our next one. This is actually a really exciting one. I really like all of the plants at the front of this one, and I like the car. This is our only detached house, so I think it's a bit more of a house as opposed to an apartment like the rest of the buildings on this block. We're going to start out with working out our layout for our ground floor. Even though this building is a little bit bigger than some of the other apartments that we've done, I still felt that it was a little bit too small. I didn't really know where to put all of the different rooms, but I think this layout is pretty good. I started out with doing our hallway where I wanted it to feel homey and very inviting by adding lots of different bits of clutter and especially pictures. The entrance walks out into the living room slash kitchen slash dining area. Now I had to combine these because I really wanted this building to have 2 bedrooms, so it meant that we had to have a bedroom downstairs as well, but I wanted it to feel like it wasn't too cluttered, so I made sure to keep it to just a 2-person sofa, 2 chairs for the dining table so that we could then fit this small kitchen in the corner here. If you watch my videos a lot, you know that I am a big fan of a very cluttered kitchen, so I made sure to add loads of little bits to this kitchen, especially on this back wall here. We can then move on to one of our bedrooms. I wanted this to be a single bed bedroom that has a focus on books. I added in a little seat as well so that we had somewhere to sit and read while we were in this bedroom. I wanted to go a little bit more creative with this, and I decided to actually build in my own bed kind of slash bookshelf area where it kind of felt like a pre-built piece of furniture. I wanted there to be nice little fairy lights as well so that it felt a bit more comfortable. This room is obviously quite small, so I also had to include wardrobes, and I decided to do this open wardrobe that was a part of the bookshelf bed area. We don't have much more space downstairs, so I decided to use our last tiny room as being a little toilet and sink situation, so sort of like a mini downstairs bathroom. We couldn't actually fit a shower or a bath in there, so we're going to have to do that upstairs. I think I'm going to do a sort of shower room for this. Speaking of, we can now go upstairs, where of course I start by laying out our rooms. I'm going to have one bedroom, and then obviously we're going to have our wet room as well that I wanted to include too. I started out by doing the hallway, where I wanted to kind of keep it a bit more simplistic as this is a very small hallway. Now in our wet room, I decided I was going to go with a shower that kind of was off to one side. We then also have a little stool and of course some towels. Finally, we have our last room, which is going to be our sort of master bedroom. This one's a little bit bigger, so we can add in this nice double bed here. I wanted to add a lot of clutter to this room and just make it feel a little bit more rustic. I tried to go with sort of nice tones of greens and reds. They are slightly contrasting, but I think that that actually gives a bit more of a cluttered effect to the room. I wanted it to also feel homey, so I added these fairy lights in with these cute little pictures, and of course I added a couple of plants as well. On the other side of the room we also have a TV, that's just for entertainment purposes, and of course we have our wardrobe. Now that that apartment's finished, we can move on to the last apartment that we have in this entire block. I'm super excited to have this block finished, and let's crack on. This apartment is on the smaller side, but we are going to include one bedroom which we're going to have downstairs, including the bathroom as well. Our entrance immediately leads you through to a smaller hallway, and then we also have our stairs that lead upstairs as well. For our bedroom, I wanted to include lots of cabinets, but I think for this entire apartment, I want to be focusing in on plants and just giving it a really cozy vibe. We do, of course, have a double bed in this bedroom as well, and I wanted to include lots of pictures. I made sure to include curtains as well as the ivy hanging over the top of the curtains to tie in both the cozy and plant vibe that I want in this build. Then moving over to our bathroom, this is a bit of a weird shaped bathroom. I wanted to include a bath originally, but we ended up with not enough space, so I did just end up going with a shower. But we of course also have our toilet and sink, and I even included a mirror, as well as some shelving that we can then put some additional items, including plants of course, on the edge. Now that we've got our bedroom and bathroom sorted, we can move upstairs where we're going to have our living area and our kitchen. I wanted this again to feel quite cozy, but I really like this little spiral staircase that we have going up to the upstairs section. It gives us that free wall to be able to put loads of pictures on as well, and I think that it makes the place feel a little bit more open plan. I added a record player, which I think looks super cute, and then we also have a sofa, of course. On the opposite end, opposite the sofa, I also included one of those picture frames that's also a TV. I then started adding in bits for our kitchen, where we have our little fridge, and then I went with this sort of dark blue tone, which I really like in the end, and I think our kitchen looks super cute. I did a nice little L-shaped kitchen. I also added some clutter above on the shelves as well. Now that we've completed all of the different buildings in our entire community block, let's do a run through of each of the apartments / houses and just explain our design choices for each of these. I'm really happy with how all of these came out though. I think they look awesome. The first apartment that we have in this entire lot is actually our biggest one, and it goes over 3 floors. On our ground floor we have a double bedroom with plenty of space for a desk as well as our bathroom. In the middle floor that you come in onto, we have our dining area and our kitchen, and then as you go upstairs you have another single bedroom as well as the living area. This also comes with a cute patio. Then going on to our second apartment, this still goes over 3 floors and is a bit more of a rustic design. We have our dining area, kitchen and bathroom on the ground floor, then our living area in the middle, and a double bedroom right at the top, as well as having 2 balconies. Moving on to our third apartment, this has its own private garden and is a little bit bigger in floor plan than the rest of them. We have our living, dining and kitchen area all on the ground floor as well as a single bedroom. Then upstairs we have a slightly smaller kids bedroom, bathroom and a double bedroom. Next we have the only house on the lot, and this one is a little bit bigger as well. We have a single bedroom downstairs, our cute little living room and our kitchen. Then upstairs we have a double bedroom and we have a bathroom upstairs and downstairs. We now have our 5th building, which comprises of a library in the bottom floor, which can be accessed by anyone living in this block. We have a little hallway which leads to a double bedroom and a bathroom, and then upstairs we have a very open plan kitchen and living space. And finally, we have our 6th apartment, which comprises of a cafe at the bottom, and then we have a studio flat right at the top that contains all of the items needed within a studio. If you'd like to download this on the gallery, of course, you can download it under HextraHunt as my gallery ID, or you can type in Japanese community block and it should come up. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I love making large builds like this, so you should expect more of these in the future, as this is my 2nd community block that I've made. If you enjoyed this video though, there's another recommended video on the screen now, so check that one out too, and I hope you all have a great evening.